the Bartlett Hospital Board of Directors order at 5:30. Welcome, everybody. Mr. Lewis, are you prepared to give us the land acknowledgement?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Goodness cheese to the Haida, Tlingit, and Shishman people. We respectfully acknowledge them as the original inhabitants of Southeast Alaska. Bartlett Regional Hospital is located on the homeland of the Occoquan. We are grateful to provide service in your ancestral homeland and to be part of this community.
Roll call, please.
Chris Weatherman.
Here.
Brent Key. Max Mertz.
Here.
Lisa Peterson.
Present.
Al Geiger.
Present.
Edie Feldman Gross.
Here.
Shelley Deering.
Here.
John Rasser.
Here.
And Deb Johnston.
Here. Thank you. Time to approve the agenda. I have one change to make. We are postponing the A3 presentation by our lab director, John Horton. He's unable to make it this evening, so I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Do we have any public participation? Seeing none, let's move on to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moving on to the hospital capacity report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for last month, patient days in CCU were 52, med surge were 254, MHU was 119, OB was 51, newborn nursery 37. The ED saw 965 patients last month, which was about 100 patients more than they saw the month before. So we're not really seeing a decrease census on any of our units, like we had expected through the summer or through the winter, which is good. A little worse than going through to the summer. We have a total of 7 patients with replacement, 2 for subacute rehab, 3 for long-term care, and 2 for assisted.
Is there a pattern of increase in ER patients? No.
We just, through the chair, we haven't seen a decrease in census like we typically over the years past. You know, we get kind of a huge census during the summer and
Yeah.
we haven't seen that.
But no particular thing is driving it.
If I may, 2 things to come to mind. Is this a blip of this year? You've been around now for a few years. Could it just be the aging population, or could it be just terrible influ A, B season that we had?
Through the chair, it could be, I mean, I've been here since 2016, and every year the ERs significantly dropped during the winter months, and it just hasn't this year. And so this season, we're seeing a lot more flu now. We have a handful of admissions for flu currently. So we are seeing an increase, so that could be part of it. We'll just have to kind of see what's driving it, but we just, on all the units, we haven't seen a decrease. And I don't know if that's more people visiting or getting sick here, but there's definitely not a decrease as we expected during the winter.
Any other questions? I am going to go a little bit out of order. We, yes, those of us who reviewed the agenda, that there's no line for approval of the minutes. So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 14th.
Madam Chair, I have gone over the minutes and I approve the minutes as written.
I second. Okay, let's get back to old business and the home health and hospice update.
So as you may know, I'm Heather Richter. I have been the Director of Home Health and Hospice until this point. And tonight we have our new director, also Heather Page. And so I am going to pass it off along to her to give the report.
So hospice, we currently have 7 patients on with 2 pending. The hospice average daily census for the previous quarter is 4. And the hospice average length of stay for the previous quarter was 16 days. We are a little short on our ends. There are 2 out of 4 positions filled right now, yet one of them is leaving on Friday to transfer within Bartlett. We do get a traveler starting next week sometime, so that's good. So the one RN that we do have is a real newbie and requires a lot of training and teaching, but is great. So because of that, our clinical manager is needing to help out a lot with a lot of the patient care. But we did fill the position for the administrative coordinator 2/volunteer coordinator. That is Wendy Heifer. She's wonderful. She's getting onboarded right now and she's already made a big difference. So.
Are there any questions?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Approve.
Good evening, everyone. So our numbers have gone in the last month, which is really exciting. We did hit a census of 57. I wasn't sure if I can't remember if we were there last. So I'm laughing, but we hit 57, and then we had some adjustments in the numbers. We went down to 55 at 56 again today, and looking at another admission possibly in the next week or so. So just keeping those numbers up.
Right.
So our overall occupancy rate has gone up a couple of points in the last month, and so is our average daily census. We continue to work on our which is the nursing department accountability and cultivating excellence, and we're just continuing to do training and adding that under our process improvement projects. So, yeah. Okay, is there any questions?
Madam Chair, thank you. So, this is great. So all the wings are open now, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's just awesome.
Yes.
Great work.
Thank you.
Very happy to see that.
Thank you.
And I mean, remind me of the max that we could be at.
61.
So, wow, that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
great.
so just a reminder, we have 57 rooms. 4 of those rooms are double occupancy. So we haven't filled those extra 4 beds at this point. Our goal was really just to get to 57, and it just kind of happened quickly. So we'll just, if we believe there's an appropriate fit for a double room, we'll go ahead and fill out, but that's something we'll be looking at in the future.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Mr. Farming. Foundation update.
Okay, we are still accepting applications for the Edelman Scholarship. It's the Grace and Phil Edelman Health Science Scholarship. It's open until May 23rd. The materials are available on the website. They've been sent out to all the schools, Southeast Alaska. We've had a pretty good number reply, some reoccurring from past years and some newbies as well. Enrollment drive for the Gift from the Heart payroll contribution. Our numbers are up just a little bit, but hey, it's positive. We're in the right direction. We are doing an enrollment special through May 2025 for spring, sharing some Hot Shop gift cards with all our new enrollees in April and May. We're currently at 33 employees, contributing $555 per pay period. We are coordinating with the Navy Brass Band. They're coming into town in early May. We've asked them to come again and perform at Wildflower Court for our residents there. They were enjoyed last year, so I'm sure that happening. And then below is our list of the foundation investments. Employee thank you gifts for our payroll deduction was about $600. We donated some bedding for the Columbia students that are currently staying at the Bartlett House in the amount of about $300. We did some LPN education funding for this quarter in the amount of $5,000. Some hospice education discretionary funding was $2,000. The Love Your Neighbor MIH fundraising campaign was $1,000. The bladder scanner, 5,000, and then our spring scholarship awards for our Edelman scholarships was 16,500. So a total of $30,400.
There any questions?
The 33 employees, Melissa, and I guess, it took a little bit of a hit, I guess, when we were kind of having, is now the time maybe to start kind of reaching out to the employees again?
Yes, I'm working with our board. We have a board meeting on the 30th this month, and I'm going to ask that we do some new lunch and learns with some of our employees, have some fun activities in the cafeteria. That being said, we are going to have a summer with tourism, so I have to kind of work around that, but I would like to get that in place so that we can start increasing those numbers again, because we did take a pretty good hit, but our numbers overall for the hospital are in the black, so I say we move forward and come up again.
Dr. Esther?
As a medical staff member, we actually find those that don't go to the 50% of the meetings. And then we used to have a Juneau Medical Society, and we used to donate to the science fair and things like that, but we funnel it now directly to the hospital foundation, as I understand. Any idea what that generates? I mean, have you seen?
I'll have to look into that. I can get back to you on that.
We have some lazy physicians who show up to their meetings.
Any other?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Melissa, I know that you and I kind of met a little bit about this. So have we started when we present like the FIOE award, or if we do something like that, are you able to at least do some sort of speech or something, just encouraging our employees, this is what good we do? And then also with the cards for Hot Shots, how much money are you putting in?
Like $5. Some of them we have done to $10, but with $5, you can't really buy a coffee anymore for $5. So we're hoping that, I'll have to pull a couple bucks out, and also encouraging those to tip.
So I would suggest that we put at least $7 on the card,
Okay.
knowing that the $5.25 is going to buy a drink, and the $1.75 is going to go for the tip, because they can use that money on the gift card for a tip. We want Hot Shots to stay there, and if you guys read the thing that now hours are such decreased to 7:30 to 11:30, so we want to make sure that our employees are going there and making sure that they're tipping. And then if we're giving a gift card away, we're tipping those employees too, and make sure that we're showing that that's what we want to do. So I just want to make sure it's very important, though, when we have an ask from a department, that they at least give us a minute or two to be able to talk to them about what we can do. And I also would encourage you to, have a board member even there with me from there to talk about that too. And now I know that Dr. Urata is actually joining the foundation board, which we're.
Not officially yet.
Oh, all right, strike record.
April 30th.
Nothing said confidential on anything.
Look like keeping a secret around.
There was nothing.
First it's my health records, and now it's Dr. Urata.
Nothing was confidential. But it's going to really help the foundation get some credibility to make sure that we can build that back up.
Thank you.
Thank you. From other.
So for the medical staff, should be there. Do you want me to go, or did you miss one?
Did I miss one?
We changed the.
Oh, you changed the order, sorry. Okay. Missed that part myself. Yeah, it's kind of business as usual at our meeting. There was some discussion about some small changes to the bylaws that will eventually come this way, but they were pretty minor things. So I'll try to batch them into as well as I can, so that there's not a whole lot of discussion. Small things. Yeah, I don't think there was a lot to report.
I agree.
To refresh my memory, thought we, when I'm operating under the assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, that minor adjustments to that don't affect, significantly impact policy or procedure we're not requiring board approval, but it'll come to us as information. Is that correct?
That's correct. These would, yeah, these are related to like frequency of different, some of the different groups that are meeting. So like, I believe it's Behavioral Health Committee and the ECC Committee wanted to adjust the frequency of their meetings, which I guess I don't know exactly where that falls as far as, I think I was kind of assuming when we talked with how like for small grammatical changes that don't change the overall structure, those changes could be made without necessarily bringing them back for approval. But I was kind of assuming these changes would be something that the board might be interested in, to be changing the frequency of committee meeting frequency, and then there's also a couple other things, some other verbiage that was requested by some other staff.
So you are correct in your assumption. If it's a substantial change, you'll be made aware. This was all about meetings, smaller stuff. I agree.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Butler? Committee meeting updates. The joint conference committee meeting. Yes. Minutes accurately reflect the discussion we had a very good opener for this year. Hopefully those who participated are in agreement with that. We have decided to meet at least twice a year with the understanding that I think we scheduled one for June, correct? We do have some items to go over, so I think we'll have 3 meetings this year. Any questions about the minutes of the joint conference? Any comments from?
Just to the rest of the board, we had talked about not having a complete medical executive committee. We now do. Jody Totten, ER doctor, she's now vice chief of staff, so it's really nice to have the full complement. And then compensation is sort of an ongoing discussion about having a medical chief medical officer and getting some compensation for the volunteer chief medical staff, because it's a lot of time. And so we said that we would get our med exec committee aligned by this year, and here we are in April. We did that, and we'll just come up with an idea for compensation issues when we talk to Mr. Warner sometime later this year as well. That's kind of the gist of what we mostly talked about.
Questions or comments? Okay. And we have a joint planning and finance committee.
So I'll just start the funny portion of it. The minutes accurately reflect what we talked about. We do have an action item on the next. Talk about that a little bit more during the planning portion of the meeting. We actually were able to hear an update on all the stuff that's going on. We're working really hard to try to start our master plan. So hopefully we'll get that completed this year too. So look forward to seeing that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Max.
And I'm going to turn it over to Joe. Joe, you want to kick off the asset purchase discussion?
Yeah, I'll just go kind of walk back through what we discussed at planning. So I actually appreciate that most of the board members, I think all of the board members, were able to attend the joint meeting last week. We've had ongoing discussions with the family practice providers over the last, almost year at this point. And so we've had more active discussions over the last 4 months, culminating in the point where we have contracts in place to employ those providers. And so the next step in moving this transaction forward and bringing a primary care clinic under Bartlett's umbrella would be that purchase of the assets and the clinic. All of their contracts are contingent upon this purchase. So, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, the contract becomes effective when we actually close on the asset purchase. So they kind of have the same effective date when we get to that point. I went over kind of the pros and cons at the last meeting, and I think those are accurately reflected in the minutes as well. And I think we've had time to have people that had time last week to sit on this. And I just wanted to open it up for questions to see if people have come up with more questions over the last week that I could answer at this point.
Yeah, so page 38, page 39 are of the packet is the section of the Planning and Finance Committee meeting that talked about this, and it was a good discussion. We had good input from the position from the board, and so yeah, if there's maybe the way to do this is do the motion first, and then if there's any further questions or discussion about it, so or do the action item. I'm sorry, because at this point it's just an action item. Right? Yeah. So okay, so we can go right to the discussion. Yeah. So any questions?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have a question, but since this is a public meeting and people from home might be listening, I don't want anybody to have the impression this is just sort of an impulsive thing. This has been considered for a long time. We had an excellent discussion at the committee. There were a lot of smart questions that were brought up, things that I had thought of. And I just, I'm going to vote in favor of this. So I'm sure you're listening that this has been very carefully thought through. This is definitely a good thing for the hospital
And for the community.
the community.
Any other questions or comments? So the board members were,
Purchase of the assets does not include the building. I missed.
we own the building.
Oh, you do already. That's right.
Any other comments? Thank you for that, Helen, for that comment. It has been something that has been well thought out and fully discussed, I believe, as well. And we appreciate the providers that are taking this for all of that, all the work that you guys have done as well.
Madam Chair, so one thing that did come out of this joint planning and finance meeting was I was really happy to hear Dr. Raster's comments about the other physicians. I really wanted something like this to happen for a lot of years now, and there's been pushback from other physician groups and stuff like that. And maybe you could talk just a minute about that, Dr. Raster, what you said during the training meeting.
Sure. Over the years, the physicians on the medical staff have generally been independent. There have been a few employed physicians here and there. And then as search has grown, they have this large cadre of employed physicians that sort of they turn over sporadically. There was always a concern that the hospital could be a competitor by hiring one group of physicians to pit against another. And so in order to discuss this amongst the medical staff, because this progression of employing physicians and buying practices, Mr. Warner went and talked to the major stakeholders, the other groups in town. Everyone was very comfortable about this. It's really created a landing place for physicians that want to practice in the community, so that now Bartlett has a place to put them, because it's hard to maintain a private practice in today's milieu. And so this is a win-win. In medicine, we always say whatever's best for the patient. And unfortunately, that's not always the case anymore, because CEOs now look at like widgets and income and things like that. But this truly is good for the patient, because these are great physicians that have been at the community for 20-something years. And now they can keep practicing, and the hospital benefits because we have a place to put other physicians, other nurse practitioners, and it's a footprint up the valley. So I just don't see the downsides. It's mostly upsides.
Sure. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Let's Call the question. Is there anyone who objects to this action item?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I think because it's such a big item, maybe one.
Want a roll call? Okay.
The motion is to approve the purchase of the assets from family practice physicians in an amount not to exceed $600,000. If the pending asset valuation is above 600,000, then it'll come back to the committees and the boards for further consideration. So with that being said, Chris Letterman. Katingi,
Yes.
Max Mertz,
Yes.
Lisa Peterson. Yes. Kenny Solomon Gross,
Yes.
Al Geiger,
Yes.
Kelly Nearing,
Absolutely, yes.
Dr. Rasser,
Yes.
Deb Johnston.
Yes.
Say yes.
You all? Yeah. Ready. Item on our agenda is administrative reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Most of my CEO letter focuses on the changes we've seen in the medical field over the last 15, 20 years. The big piece of that is hospitals have been engaging in purchasing clinics and moving those under their umbrella, at a rapid pace down south. So now that we've seen this transition to Juno and to Bartlett, we will be taking those steps. I can't understate the amount of work that goes into this transaction. So not only are you trying to merge the two entities, bring them under the umbrella, but you also have to make sure that all the staff involved are treated, in a sensitive manner. Because any change, even to the positive, will have an impact on these people. So with that being said, me and Chad went down and we met with all the family practice employees. And so we trying to talk them through how this transaction is going to work, answer any questions they would have, trying to alleviate any stresses that they have. So over the next couple of months, a lot of effort will be going into this, but as was stated prior, this will be to the benefit of the community and to the hospital. Also starting in May, we'll be doing our quarterly A3 presentations. Those are slated for the first 2 weeks, 4 different days to go over the 5 different strategies. We're starting to get that planned out. We also have some time with Virginia Mason. They're going to come up, meet with us, go over kind of the agenda, all the stuff we're working on with them, as well as bring the list of currently licensed practitioners in the state of Alaska, so we can talk about specialist coverage. We also have hospital weeks coming up on the week of the 17th. So we'll be doing some celebration for hospital, trying to appreciate all our staff, all the hard work that's actually gone in over the last year. You just got to step back and reflect on all the work that we've done over the last 12 months and try to celebrate that with our people. So those are probably the big things I'll be working on this month. We'll continue to work with physicians as well. So lots going on at the hospital. Is there any questions, any rumors I can address?
I did have a question about the open house that is May 15th. Yeah, it just jumped out of mind. Is there a particular time during that open house that you'd like to have the board around for any of that, Joe, or is that just show up when we can?
Kind of mingle in throughout. I don't want everyone showing up at the same time. I'll probably coordinate that with Aaron and you guys individually over the next couple of weeks. We'll try to do some staging so have board members floating throughout the whole period, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you'll get hold of us about that.
Yeah, I'll start touching base with you. I'll be probably texting you guys individually on that.
Other questions for Mr. Warner? Okay. Home health and hospice 4-year projections.
So I guess I'll go ahead and speak on this. So the page you have in front of you is only hospice. There is another equivalent sheet that rolls into home health. You can see that projected revenue for the years through fiscal year 29. The projection assumes everything's steady state with a 4% increase in the revenue per year, and basically steady volume. So utilities at an increase of 33% a year. Maintenance or repairs at 3%, and also material and supplies at 3% as well. So ultimately, as we move from year to year, estimating a 3% increase in the cost of the program, and you can see that at fiscal year 29, we're still losing at a rate of about 200,000 a year.
What is the census that you're projecting? The census to say, remember, relatively stable over time?
Yeah, it would be steady state. It would be the equivalent of what our historical numbers have been.
What is that you're using right now?
I don't have those census numbers in front of me. I would say, in all likelihood, and our managers back here maybe will speak to this better than me, but I think 5 to 7 patients on their census.
Yeah, to that point, the line 17, the decrease in the budget for 26 and the projected for 26 from 25, that's a significant drop, and I'd like to understand that better, especially given the fact that you've got a projected increase in salary costs. So why the decrease in revenue with an increase?
Well, because there was a fall off in the later months of the historical period that we were looking at. We were looking at the historical 12 months, and there was a fall off so we took the run rate for the last 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I don't understand how you.
It's very, very, very similar to what we saw when we looked at the census for the entire hospital for that 12-month historical period. Was the last 6 months were a lower census, lower rate of revenue. So we took that run rate and carried it forward. That clear?
No, it's not. It doesn't make sense to me that you'd have a decrease in revenue between what we're seeing in 25 on the projected and 26. I guess I'd like to, we can talk about that offline, but before we put plant a flag on this, I'd like to have a better understanding of that. The 700, specifically, it's that net patient service revenue on 17 of the 750 down to 629. And then corresponding the salary line of 484,000 going up to 584. I mean, those just don't, given.
Well, the going up to 584 is representative of the fact that our intention to have the current manager working off-site to assist us with the administrative responsibilities of the departments for a period of not to exceed a year. So we've built in some additional salaries in that next year, and then they drop back off after that contract, basically off-site work ends.
Okay.
Lisa.
Is there, I see that there's a city contribution, 100,000 for 2 years. Would we be potentially considering asking for them to continue that?
We do, yes.
Okay. I mean, I realize we don't have it built into the budget, which makes sense, but.
But I'll be happy, Max, I'll be happy to go back and kind of give some detailed explanation of the drop in revenue.
Yeah, if we could, and maybe the thing to do is just bring this back to the next finance committee. We can talk about that.
I would agree with that.
All right.
Yes. although it's, I think that you've crunched the numbers, it may or may not reflect that, I'm never one to be overly optimistic. However, as we continue to work with the community and the providers to change the mindset that the time to enter hospice doesn't necessarily have to be the last few days of one of our participants' life. It's an earlier time provides respite for the families and good care for those patients. So, and as we all know, Juneau has an aging population. So I don't believe that, Mr. Kay, if you've included any of what's happening outside of the numbers in that census projections. Anyone else?
If I may, from historical perspective, if you look at Sitka and when Search took over the home health and hospice and then dropped it, the political backlash was substantial. There was the Sitka Sentinel article that was reproduced. You read that, but it dominated the comment section. So I know we had a motion in the past about looking at this as one of our sort of ancillary services or core services. I can't remember, and are we going to continue? But it's very well supported in our community. It's very well supported in Sitka's community. So it's very popular. We'll have to think long and hard before we change anything.
Yeah, and I echo that and agree with it. And part of this projection, the importance of this projection is that Juneau Community Foundation is interested in building, kind of their fundraising goals around what we're working on here. And that's why it's so important that we get, that's what's not in here yet. But we come to, here's what we think we'll need. And honestly, this seems overly pessimistic to me. Maybe I'm off base there, but I just want to get a, kind of a better sense to them of what, we think our ask would be in order to, plug that hole.
I just want to second what Max is saying too. I also would like to see there be some sort of line for education, because we need to make sure that we're out educating or advertising for this too. And when we talked about drop-offs for census, if I'm not mistaken, didn't last year we drop off pretty heavy in the summertime, and we pick back up September, October?
I think that's right.
Yeah, isn't that right?
Yeah.
I can comment on that if you want. Our census towards the end of last fiscal year, when we were kind of looking at our core versus non-core, we saw a significant decrease in our census. And so that picked up after those big core and we started, having increased census throughout the fall. But that's also what's driving that decrease to the projected or to our FY26. So when you look at the full 12 months, our census was lower over a whole third of that. And so that pushes that number down. And so it could make this number lower as a projection going into the future revenue wise, but it is the most conservative method too. That makes sense.
I'd also like to just share some of our community outreach efforts. We have been working very closely with Foundation for End of Life Care, looking to partner with them for some additional support in that. With our staffing, it's been really challenging for me to leave my desk and, go and sit at a health fair. So I've been making sure that our volunteers are trained up to man those desks. They're equipped to answer questions from the community as well as providers. I have gone with Dr. Urata to speak with providers at Search and some of the other physician offices in town as well. But with our staffing the way that it's been recently, I have not had the opportunity to get out and do some of these things. So I'm hoping with the continued partnership with Foundation for End of Life Care, it'll go much smoother and we'll have some additional support in getting out there and just additional resources as well. Melissa, you've been in some of those.
Yeah, and Kenny, this will be discussed in our board meeting on April 30th with the new person that may be joining us.
Also, there was nothing that said confidential. I'll show you the email. Also, is there any way you can like just kind of tell us, I know not today, but at some point, what kind of volunteer hours that we're looking at right now? I mean, are we having 2 volunteers? Or are we having 10 volunteers? I mean,
I can pull those numbers for you and get that to you. We have currently 15 volunteers, and we are regulated to have our volunteers serve 5% of total staff hours. So whether that be them coming in to help build our admit packets, going to some of those health fairs, or directly serving the patients, those are all ways that we can contribute to that 5%.
I have a follow-up on that. That 5%, is that a cap or a minimum?
That's a minimum.
And we are working on a community outreach project as well that will be discussed at our board meeting. So to be able to share with both our physicians here at the hospital, as well as the community, what the end of life care looks like and how that is in relation with hospice.
so I mean, I just think that looking at that and hearing all of these volunteer hours and all of this extra work that's going into, and hopefully getting some other resources from some other areas, I think that bottom line hopefully is going to really improve on this, Chuck. So I think that's kind of, I know that we asked you to put something together, what it's going to look like in 4 or 5 years, but I think this is, like Max had said,
I will be happy to get you significant details before I leave to explain what our thoughts were.
We'll support on it for next month.
Did you have another comment? Or Dr. Malter had? You did? I look forward to, I think we all look forward to getting a little more information on that. And I'm fairly certain we all echo Max and Kenny's feelings that this is a program that nobody wants to see leave Juneau. So whatever we can do to keep it going under our umbrella, we want to make that happen. I have one last question. I asked you about whether it was a floor or a ceiling on that 5%. Are we able to meet that minimum?
We are.
But let us know if it starts to dip so we can.
We've got a lot of very eager volunteers there stopping by the office. They'll come in to do bereavement calls. Like I said, they'll build their admit packets and do whatever it takes to come in and help. So we are far exceeding that.
Great.
Just one more thing. I just kind of want to know what providers are like really supportive of this program. And if there's other providers that aren't, and I don't want to say it right now, but maybe you can put that information for me.
Tell everybody.
Oh, Meg said that. Oh my God, I'm being.
What I will say is that everyone has been extremely gracious and eager to support our program. I don't know that I've gotten any negative pushback from one particular provider, but I can certainly pull a list of referral sources if that's helpful.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Pig and others.
Read the movie.
Thank you. So the assembly is fully into our budget development process for the next fiscal year. We had a good presentation from Deb and Joe 3 weeks ago now, I think, they graciously came in on a Saturday. It's a presentation. I don't think there are any major questions coming out of that meeting that require follow-up for Bartlett, so that's good. We're moving along in that process. Our last meeting was on community grants, and a handful of social services grants were discussed. Some additional money for the Juneau Community Foundation primarily is one of our topics of discussion, as well as a bunch of other general community grants. But I think that's probably the most, was the nexus to department's activities. In terms of other assembly actions, our last meeting was predominated by discussion and our kind of finishing up our assembly work on approval of the new cruise ship dock to move forward. So not necessarily anything Bartlett related, but just general community interest. Otherwise, I guess if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Okay. President's report. My report is relatively short. I've seen you all at all the meetings, so we all know what has been going on. I was very fortunate to be here for the last fireweed award ceremony, and it's not something that I've attended very often, but I really appreciated being there and seeing those folks, the good works that they're doing and how they're appreciated. And thank you to the foundation for your participation in that as well. We've got a lot going on. We are going to start the evaluation process for the facility master plan bids in next month. So that is moving right along. And hopefully we'll have a selection and we can start that process soon. And by the end of our calendar year, have a product, hopefully. Other than that, thank you all for being here tonight. I think we've got everybody here tonight. And this is one of the quickest meetings that we've had in a long time. We've set aside, in general, we've set aside some time. We plan the agendas frequently around the A3 presentations. So hopefully we'll be able to reschedule the lab presentation at the next meeting because they're doing some really good work there. So we'll see that soon. Okay, we're on to board calendar. Committee? Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm going to be out of state the first part of it. Out of state, or out of town the first part of next month, and I know I'm on the planning committee, but I will be out of state in the summer.
Okay.
Who's on the planning committee? Chris and I.
Second.
So it sounds like we need to reschedule the plan. Well, you folks, do you want to talk about that now or?
Oh, I probably, let me talk to you about this offline,
Okay.
see if we can find a meeting next month.
We had tentatively proposed every other month for the planning committee.
So maybe, you know that we're gonna probably get into it pretty heavy when we get into.
Yeah, we're not gonna be ready for the master plan by the second.
So we just cancel that one for this one. That's okay with me.
It's fine with me that if there isn't any
Yes,
other
I'm-
agenda items, that's fine with me.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
sorry, I'm out of town in Petersburg, some patients for the quality on that committee. Shelley runs the committee, but I'm a member. I can't really zoom in, so we could move it to 15 or 22, or just leave it and leave me on.
I think we could look at 15, Gail.
Madam Chair, I'm out of town on the 15th. And I am on that committee.
Yeah.
The 22nd?
22nd.
My second's great.
22nd works for you,
22nd.
Gail? Does the 22nd work for you? I can make that work. Good job. Thank you.
Yes, can I ask one more question? Is there any way to make that meeting a little earlier?
Yes, on 22, that's my surgery day, but 22 should be fine.
So how much earlier can we do it, Dr.
Noon. Noon on 22.
For you, Kenny? Which committee is it again?
Quality compliance.
Gail?
Or 1, you know, 1 o'clock. Sometimes we don't have a conference room. Okay.
Would you rather have 1 instead of noon, Gail?
My schedule is wide open today.
Oh, okay.
Whatever time works.
Can we say 1 o'clock then, if that's
1
okay,
o'clock.
just in case? Thank you.
1 o'clock on the 22nd. Thank you, everybody.
I'm still on that, right?
Yes.
It's okay with me too.
I'm sorry. You know what, in my mind, no, no, it's funny, it's just, I'm laughing at myself here, it's okay.
All right. Credentials committee doesn't change. Any year in town for the credentials committee. Finance committee.
That works for me. It seems early, especially with Chuck leaving. I assume our new interim controller will be doing the packet for that month.
So plan is to help her prepare the packet next week, so it'll be complete.
Okay.
But yes, at this point, it looks like she will be presenting.
Yeah, I wonder, especially given the gap that we've got, if we wouldn't be also pushed back a week if that works for Dr. Tingy and Shelley.
So push it to the 16th.
Yeah.
I'm out of town on the 16th.
Oh, it doesn't work.
I'm traveling, so.
I'm gone on the 9th, so.
Well. Yeah, that seems to be kind of the order of the night. The 23rd is kind of tight for finance to the board. So are either one of whoever's traveling on the 9th or the 16th, can you join? I mean, we don't have to have 3 people. We can do it with 2. But are you able to Zoom or?
Let me check my.
So you're available on the 16th, but not the 9th.
I will be out of town both those days, but I'll be zooming in. I'm just, we're gonna be example.
16th as well, but
I will be, look, I think I'm gonna be sitting in the airport for a couple hours. So. Or I arrive back in June at 3:10. So I don't know if a 4 o'clock meeting is too late.
That's happy hour.
Okay, I arrive in Seattle at say 11.
Okay.
Seattle time, and I don't leave till 1:40 p.m.
Seattle time.
Seattle time.
Just what that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do it like 11 o'clock then on the 16th. 11 Juneau time, a little bit more.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, that'd give an hour. Yeah. And I think we could do it in an hour, right?
Okay, so
That's when you board.
I would be boarding at 12:40. Oh, no, that's when the flight leaves.
Be boarding at noon.
Yeah.
So let's plan 11 o'clock on the 16th then.
Okay.
I think you got everybody covered. Correct? All the meetings? And then the board meeting is the day after Memorial Day. Right. Any board comments or questions? Being none, let's.
I do have just one quick comment, and that's just to follow up on the A3. And I understand we had to put it off, but those are super valuable for us as a board. So I just want to make sure we're committed.
we are committed to it. Make sure that we have at least one, depending on the volume of information.
Sure, yeah, I just want to reiterate how much I enjoy this.
They're a good education for us. And so, yeah, we definitely want to see it come. We will at some point be adding additional board education that is not related to the A3s. Essentially coming out of governance, so. But we will continue, regardless, we're going to continue with A3s at every meeting. Okay. Let's, I would entertain motion to go into executive session. Cal?
Madam Chair, I move the Board of Directors of Bartlett Regional Hospital recess into executive session to discuss several matters, including those which by law, municipal charter, or ordinance are required to be confidential or involve consideration of records that are not subject to public disclosure, specifically patient safety dashboards, credentialing reports, medical staff meeting minutes, and legal updates. And Madam Chair, I ask that you be allowed to use your discretion on which staff should remain.
Let's regroup. We'll go into executive session, but take a quick break before and regroup at 6:35.
Heather, thanks for all you've done. Heather, thanks for all you've done.
Your support. And thanks for continuing. Entertain a motion to approve the.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the credentialing report. And I also note that we gave direction to the board president, board vice president, and the CEO to pursue legal action.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was afraid that was still on the screen being publicly broadcast.
No. It's- there's
Yeah,
no screen.
we give direction to the CEO, the president, and the vice president to pursue legal matters.
Legal matters.
Legal matters, yes, legal matters. Sorry. Something like that.
Okay, any other comments?
We
from-
need a second.
Oh, yeah, we do need a second.
Second, and I just want to make sure it's clear to actions that was discussed in executive session. I don't know if it has to say which, or just actions that was discussed.
Got to change the motion to those exact words.
I think we do need to mention as the board that it was discussed under.
So Anita, has that been butchered enough, or can you craft that into? Those several massive words.
Joe, where are you?
Like a hotel room.
You're muted, Joe.
I'm in Spokane and we're going to Mexico tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. So.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yeah.
have fun. And when do you come back again? I know I have it the morning of.
The first, yeah.
Great. Do we have anything else? Any board comments or questions? We are adjourned.
Yes.
7:32. Thank you all.
Is